Hello, everyone. Super excited and happy to have you guys back for another episode inside of the 26 Days to Greatness Challenge. Today with us here, we have the beautiful Heather Kristian Strang. Kristian is a best-selling author and spiritual guide. She has written 8 books, including her recently released bestseller, Love Now, Your Daily Dose of Love and Miracles. Kristian is a Reverend Master Level Success Coach, certified Parama Body Talk practitioner, and barefoot doctor. And she supports divine feminine healers, coaches, therapists, and creatives in living their most spirit-led, love-fueled, enlightened life. I love that. And she's also currently completing her doctorate in metaphysical psychology. Super cool. So with all that being said, Kristian, I am so excited to have you on today, and welcome.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Miko. I'm just so overjoyed that we get to have this really important conversation today about greatness and what that looks like and how does that come together with the sacred and really living our true path during the most important time in consciousness that we've ever been in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I cannot wait to dive deeper into this conversation. But before we do that, Kristian, I would love for you to just kind of share with our listeners a little bit more about who you are. How did you get to doing the amazing work that you do today?
Yeah, I certainly wasn't trying to make any of this happen. I didn't set out to be a spiritual guide. I grew up in pretty humble, really impoverished beginnings, and I was always like that entrepreneurial, spirit. I had lemonade stands and I was, I started the first newsletter at my elementary school. And, I always just had this enthusiasm for bringing information and being entrepreneurial and doing my own thing. And over time, I had my own little successful newspaper. I started freelance writing, did all these things, but a health crisis in my late 20s, around 27, I had a tumor on my ovary, and that actually set me on a totally different journey. I had to have emergency surgery. It was like a whole thing. So from really like 27 going into 28 until 30, I was trying to heal my body and trying to figure out what was going on. And that led me on a really incredible spiritual journey. And I kept getting more and more sick. And so I ended up going to Brazil to receive a psychic surgery. And this woman prayed over me in Portuguese, and my whole body healed. And I gained all my weight back, and I completely healed. And I've been going to Western medicine doctors and naturopaths and, trying to get well. And what ended up happening is I had this psychic surgery. It totally healed me, and that changed my whole life. I wanted to understand, what had happened. How do you pray over someone and their whole body heals? And at the same time, it also opened up a lot of gifts that I didn't know I had. Intuitively, healing energy started coming out of my hands. I came back to the city of Portland where I was living, and I couldn't stay there. It was just like, I'm a totally different person now. So I moved to Kauai, wrote my first book, everything just started. Really, my life began then, everything just started setting into motion. I started studying quantum physics, and I started studying emotional healing and well-being. I started going deeper. I began meditating every day. And then in 2010, I came upon the healing modality called Body Talk, and I just knew that's my modality. So I began my work as a healing practitioner there, built my practice up to be waitlist only. It was incredible. I was working out of my small little 1-bedroom apartment, and we were doing group sessions and, packing it out, and it was incredible. And things just kept building and growing, where now my work is mentoring women and supporting them on their path. What I really do and what's really happening is I'm supporting people in living a sacred spiritual life and allowing them to run businesses and relationships and have children and live a really full life from that place of the sacred and the spiritual.
That is beautiful. It's just so amazing how the universe sometimes put us through the worst difficult challenges ever so that we can really open a portal to a whole different way of living. And as we are speaking right now, we are filming this interview in the midst of like the pandemic, and we could really use this as a powerful time to completely transform. And I'm sure you're probably experiencing that with your clients that you work with today. um, but but I don't want to get into that right now. I would love to ask you more about, like, in the bio when I introduced you, like, I just love how you said that you are supporting people on how to lead spirit-led, love-fueled life. Like, what exactly does that mean?
That's such a good question. So we're really programmed and conditioned to live our lives from like our head brain, from following rules that are given to us by society or by the culture or our family system or our religious systems. And when I'm talking about a spirit-led, love-fueled life, I'm talking about living a life where your deep divine self is guiding you forward. What I loved about what you've created, Miko, is that you're talking about greatness. And so often, and how we've been trained and programmed, is to go outside externally and look for our greatness and look for signs of our greatness, or to achieve things to show that we're great. But the greatest, deepest, richest experience we can have is going within our heart, going within our soul, and letting that greatness, focus on developing that greatness within us, and then expressing that greatness in the world. And so when we talk about living spirit-led, love-fueled, and enlightened life, it's a life that's led from the light within you, and that's guiding you, not the shoulds and the should nots, and not the, be afraid and do this, or don't be afraid and be rebellious. It's about going to the deep, deep core of who you are and letting that guide you forward. And that takes practice, and that takes time and attention. That takes slowing down and really learning ourselves and knowing ourselves in a deep way that we're just not taught how to do that. So this is the work that I do, and this is what I teach and support people in doing and guide them in doing, so that you can live an extraordinary life. My life is totally extraordinary. No one would tell you someone could pray over you and heal you. And I worked with clients with cancer and autoimmune diseases and all these horrible diseases, and they heal. And that healing happens because your alignment with your divine self and having another being who believes in you and believes in your healing and has the ability to channel that energy, anything is possible. And that's the greatness that humans really are.
Oh my gosh, yes, I am just in so much resonance with everything that you're saying with my soul. And like when we are connected in alignment with that divine self, like we are just getting recharged by something divine, something infinite, and we just get like an infinite source of joy, happiness, healing, but we need to learn how to connect to that. And when we are speaking right now, Kristian, I feel like maybe to some listeners, this is like totally new to them, this non-physical realm. And my intention of this entire series is really to support them on not only having information, but having real transformation where they can implement the concepts that they're learning right now and implement in their life. So everything that we talked about sounds amazing, and maybe they're thinking the same thing, like, oh, I want to live connected to my heart, but how exactly do we do this? We can talk about it in business first, and then more in general, like the inner work.
Absolutely. So I actually wrote down actionable steps so that your listeners or those viewing this can really, take notes. I encourage you to take notes, write this down. Yeah. Because these are literal steps that you can put into action right away and watch shifts happen. So one of the things that I work with women on, as you shared in my bio when you introduced me, is creating really successful, abundant, great businesses. And even in the current climate that we're in, with how the world is shifting and changing, there's no reason for us not to be able to thrive. In any environment, there are those that are thriving and those who not. And we can choose to be those who thrive, but it takes our conscious attention and effort. So the first actionable step that I will give to you is the step that really began to change my life. And I want to give a little bit more for folks who might be new to this too. I started doing work as a freelance writer, and people said, that's crazy, you'll never make it. I had a paper and it was very successful. I sold it for 3 times the amount that I purchased it for. When I stepped into being a healer, there's a lot of stories about being a broke writer and being a broke healer. I'm not interested in those stories. So I had a waitlist practice, 6 figures, multiple 6 figures. So I'm sharing this with you, not from like this woo place where, oh, you can try these out and, maybe you'll make it, maybe you won't. This is actionable. It will lead you to all the things that you desire. All the prosperity that you desire comes when you follow these steps that I'm giving to you now. So it's happened in my life. I watch it happen in my clients' lives. I'm sharing this to those who are either like well seasoned in the sacred and the spiritual, and also for those that might be new to it. So the first step is to meditate every single day. Now the mainstream is already on board with this. They'll tell you it's proven meditation gives you so many health benefits, so many stress relieving benefits. So even if you're just starting it from that place, it's going to serve you. But what meditation also does is it clears your mental space, which allows you to begin to receive the information from your heart. And if you're willing to accept and believe it, the information from your spirit team or your higher self. So if you're not there yet, that's cool. It's going to help you connect to your heart. If you are there, just know that, it's going to open you up to really knowing yourself and coming into that beautiful state of peace. It also will open you up to intuitive, inspired ideas. My business or my work is totally spirit-led, which means anything I offer came to me in meditation. I've been meditating every day since 2008. So when I meditate, it's like plugging into my higher self, getting the downloads of the information I need, and then I step into action and carry it out. So if you did nothing else I talk about here and you just meditated every day for 11 minutes, start with 11 minutes, 22 is great, 33 is great too, but start with 11. And then you'll just know when you're ready to add, increase it. This will begin to clear the mental clutter and allow your heart to open. A lot of times what will happen after you've been meditating for some time is you'll go sit in meditation and you'll feel sensations in your body, you'll feel your heart opening up, because when you take the time to get still with your true self, he or she will begin to operate through you, and then your life starts to get really, really amazing.
Oh my gosh, Kristian, I want to jump in and ask a couple questions. So first of all, I've been starting to meditate like about a month or so ago, and I tried to do, at first I could only sit for maybe like 20 minutes, but I noticed that as I hit the about like 45 minutes mark, that's when magic starts to happen. But what I'm still like right now, what I'm struggling with is I just like feel like my mind won't stop. Like it just keep chatting, and like as someone who is super ambitious, I want things to be like, I experienced the bliss that I felt when everything was calm, everything was still. So every time I meditate, I find myself wanting to get back to that feeling, and I get frustrated when I cannot reach that state. So what kind of advice would you give me or anyone listening who have similar experience?
Yeah, it's such a great question. Thank you so much, Miko, for bringing that in. I recommend playing in the background 432 hertz music, and you can just go on YouTube and search 432 hertz, and it will bring up all these different musical, it's just ambient music that you can listen to. And the 432 frequency is the healing frequency of nature. And so what that does is it just helps slow down the chatter of the mind, and it just helps bring you into it. You can drop into a deeper place more quickly with that. So I recommend listening to 432, or there's also 528 hertz is cellular repair. And so that'll take you really, really deep as well. So have that music playing, say 11, 22 minutes, but you'll find that 11 minutes feels really deep, or that 22 minutes feels really deep, because that music will just help support, because it's a frequency. So it'll help support your energy fields and lining up with that. And that is really, really helpful.
Okay. I will try that. I've tried different things. Sometimes I try like piano music. Sometimes I try complete silence. And I know it's a practice. I know it's going to take some time. So, but okay. And then another question is like, why 11 minutes, 22 minutes, and 33 minutes? Is there a specific reason behind that?
There is. Thank you for asking. So 11 is the master number. So 11 is a number that begins to connect you to higher consciousness. So everything I do it in divisions of 11. I do a weekly remote group meditation. We do it at 11:11 a.m. because that's multiple 11s that activates a portal to higher consciousness. So whenever we can, we bring in the frequency of 11 because it's carrying a higher vibration. And so anytime you can, why not, right? So you could definitely do 12 minutes if you wanted to, or 23 minutes or whatever. I keep it in the 11s just to give it that additional frequency charge. We have enough things we're dealing with that are lower vibration or stressful. So as much as we can to amp up the good feeling vibrations and frequencies, I'm down for. So that's why we do that.
Got it. Makes total sense. I kind of knew it, but I wanted you to explain. Okay, so that's step number one. We want to meditate every single day. Is there a preference? Like I meditate right before bed and right when I wake up, but is there a preference?
No, and I know that like transcendental meditation, they say, do it in the morning and the evening for 20 minutes. And there's all different kinds of meditations out there. And I think folks can get a little bit overwhelmed with trying to do it right. And so I say keep it really, really simple, 11 to 22 minutes a day, any time of day that you can fit it in and that you can make it happen, make it happen. I've been meditating again since 2008, and sometimes I meditate in the morning, sometimes I meditate in the afternoon, sometimes I meditate late at night, sometimes I meditate for an hour, sometimes I meditate multiple times a day. It just depends on what the day calls for. And as entrepreneurs or folks who are in business, no day is predictable and the same every time. So giving yourself that flexibility will make sure it doesn't fall to the wayside as something that you don't do, because it's literally the most important thing you can do for your business and for your life.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's so important that you bring it up. Like, don't be like me trying to do everything right and get frustrated. Just
We're
give
all
yourself
like that, I think. When you're ambitious, we have that type A kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful because we get a lot of shit done and we're highly successful, and we don't have to make it too hard for ourselves.
So last question before I let you move on. So Kristian, when we are in meditation and like I explain when things, like when I feel like the whole time I sit down and I don't feel like I get to a place where I'm totally calm and clear, like is that still beneficial in some way?
100%.
Okay.
So most people's minds are not going to be totally clear. It's not going to be just quiet and still. You'll have those moments, and that's really rich and juicy, and enjoy that. But just like when you work out, and sometimes you like a really good workout and you just feel like amazing afterwards. And sometimes you work out and you're just like, did I even do anything? Like what happened there? It's okay. It's the consistency and the daily practice that matters. And every day might be different, but that doesn't mean you're not effective. You're literally training your mind and you're training your body to sit in stillness and be in that receptive mode for internal healing and guidance and wisdom to come through. So some days it'll be like just amazing and some days it won't, but that's life, that happens all the time. So I think a lot of times, and thank you for asking that question, people get discouraged and they think, oh, I'm doing something wrong or this isn't working for me. And it's like, no, not at all. It's just like you wouldn't have one day of eating super healthy or working out, and because it didn't go well, you'd be like, oh, this doesn't work, I'm over it. Meditation is the same. Consistent practice will yield extraordinary benefits.
Got it. Thank you so much for clarifying that. Okay, so that's step number one. What's next?
So the next step is to make your emotional resiliency and fitness a priority. Because here's the thing, in business, you're going to get rejected. People aren't going to like you. People are going to be mad about whatever. You're going to make mistakes. All of that's going to happen. And if you're not doing your emotional resiliency and healing work, you're going to take it personally. You're going to be reactive. You're going to be unprofessional. You're going to lose clients and it's going to hurt your reputation. I mean, we see this happen all the time because you're getting triggered and then you're responding from that place. So doing your own emotional healing is so critical to being successful, whether you're in business or not, but especially when you're in charge, you're the entrepreneur, you're the boss, like you got to have that shit together. If you don't, it will hurt you. And we see that happen for businesses large and small when folks don't have that piece together. And so we could call this emotional maturity, emotional intelligence. But it's so important to make that a priority. And when we get into the like specific inner work, I'll talk about some very specific tools you can use to do that. But I want it on your radar that you know that like meditating daily, doing your emotional fitness work, critical for you to have a successful, thriving business practice, whatever it is.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I remember like for a majority of my entrepreneurship journey up until very recently, I had a lot of healing that I didn't take the time to do. So like it was really showing up in things like sleeping in. I didn't want to get up because I didn't want to get triggered throughout the day by taking things personally. Like it would take away a lot of my energy, my motivation, I procrastinate. So it just shows up in all kinds of ways that's not fun. So that's a good point. Okay, and then we'll go into the actual tools in the inner work part for that. Okay. All right.
Perfect. So is it okay for me to move on to the next step?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
So you've got your meditation practice daily. You make your emotional fitness, resilience, intelligence work, whatever you want to call it, emotional healing a priority. And then every single day, you can call this a prayer, you can call this an intention, whatever works for you. You set the intention that you live your highest destiny and that your work is your highest destiny and that you magnetize to you the perfect partnerships, the perfect collaborations, the perfect clients, the perfect amount of financial prosperity that is in alignment with your highest destiny. And you affirm that every day. Magnetize me to the people, places, things that will allow me to live my highest destiny. This sets you up every day, not in an attachment to outcome, because what we often do in business is like, okay, I gotta have this many sales and I hope this goes this way with this client and I hope this goes that way. It takes you out of that control place where you're over controlling, because what happens energetically when we're trying to make outcomes happen, we like strangle it, we suffocate it, right? It's you know, like the depiction of the smothering aunt or the smothering mother to the baby, right? Or the little kid where they're just like, that's what we do with our businesses. We smother them. We're like, I got to make all this happen. And we literally repel what we want to have happen by doing that. So with this invocation, every single day, you are affirming that you're going to live your highest destiny and the best and most aligned people are coming to you, the partnerships you need, the way to reach your clients, you're magnetizing them to you. And that takes you out of controller mode and puts you into empowered divine being mode.
Oh, this is so good. This is something I'm starting to realize too. Like instead of really initiating and trying to force things to happen, you are, like you said, magnetizing and you're just receiving, ready to receive with open arms. And I think it also ties back into like the divine feminine and divine masculine energy, because the divine feminine is all about receiving. So, this is so good. Okay. All right. So are these the 3 steps or anything else?
I've got 3 more.
Oh, yay.
Quick. So you're Miko, you're totally on it, because that's the divine feminine piece. And then step 4 is the masculine, the sacred masculine piece, which is you take daily action. You don't wait for inspiration to show up to write. I've written 8 books. If I waited for inspiration to show up for me to write, I wouldn't write the books, right? Which is what happens to most people. They're like, oh, I have a book in me, but they are waiting for the inspiration to last every day. It's not going to happen. So your sacred masculine gets shit done. So every day you're taking action to move yourself forward. Even if, things are not going the way you think they should, or the clients aren't coming in the way you want, you tune in. What's my highest destiny? What am I here to do? And you take action. Whatever that inspiration is that comes in, you take action. If you don't have inspiration, you go, okay, what's the most practical, logical thing I can do right now? And you do that.
Well, this is new, Kristian. I just want to say really quickly, because a lot of like teachers out there who always say like, don't take action unless you have inspiration. They say take inspired action, but this is different. What you're sharing is different.
And it's different because if you're doing the other 3 steps, your action will be more powerful. You don't ever want to take action just from your head only if you're not doing these other 3 steps. Absolutely. But yeah, I don't believe in waiting for inspiration, because I watch entrepreneurs sabotage themselves all the time with this, and the clients that I work with. Like, well, I'm waiting for the inspiration to do this thing. It may not come. You have to do the work you have to meditate. You have to, do your emotional fitness work, and then you'll just know. So what happens is you end up living totally inspired, because if you do those other 3 steps, you'll just know when you tune in, what's the action for me to take? It comes.
Okay.
So it all works together for sure.
Okay, it makes sense. Yeah, I can totally see that, because sometimes like I can catch myself like not doing anything because I say I don't feel inspired, but a lot of times like that inspiration actually come when we're in momentum, when we're in action. So makes total sense.
Yeah, and it can be as small as like, okay, I need to get back on this email, or I need to write this post, or whatever. And then that, like you said, will get that momentum going that you're cultivating with your daily meditation and your emotional work.
Yeah, okay. So it's like the harmony between the divine feminine, divine masculine.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. So that was step number 4, I believe.
Yes.
Okay.
So 2 more. And the 5th step is to make sure you have a business mentor and to make sure you have a spiritual mentor. So the spiritual is ultimately the foundation for everything in your life, but definitely your business. So your spiritual mentor will support you in navigating like, oh, I got triggered by this in my business, or whatever it is. Your business mentor is going to help you, do the more, this is like having a divine masculine, divine feminine support, right? So your sacred masculine support would be the business mentor. Your divine feminine support would be the spiritual mentor. And having both will give you that holistic support, and you will be unstoppable.
Okay, so because like the spiritual side of things are very like, it's like flowy, it's non-physical, it's abstract. So that's like the divine feminine energy. But in a business, you do need that structure. We do need the systems, the formulas, the strategies. Yeah, that makes total sense. And now I'm thinking about it. Like I do have a business mentor, and I do have a spiritual wealth coach. So they come in together. I need both. Yeah.
Absolutely, because the spiritual is the foundation for anything, just like the feminine is the foundation for anything, right? Who brings children into the world? The feminine, right? So the feminine is giving birth to everything ultimately, but you need the masculine to take the action, create the structures. So important.
This is so great. I love everything you're sharing.
And
Okay,
then I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, last one, number 6.
The final step, yes, is to surround yourself with positive, thoughtful community. So get yourself in a community of women or men, if you're a man, that are just like on fire. They're lit to live their best life, even in the worst of situations. They're looking for solutions. They're solution focused. They are love filled. They're purposeful. Get that community. And when you surround yourself with the mentors that are balanced, that masculine, feminine, you've got your practices and you have your community, like you will feel so filled up, and your work will be so much more successful, and your greatness will really begin to shine through because you're really supported.
Oh, I'm a visual person, and when you were explaining that, all I can think of is like a beautiful plan, like replanting the seed in the right environment, and that community is the environment that's conducive for our greatness to blossom. So, ooh, that was good. Oh my goodness, you shared so much in just the first portion, Kristian. I just want to quickly recap everything, like the couple of steps. So step number 1, we want to meditate every single day, and there's no right or wrong way to do it, but consistency over quality. And then step number 2 is we want to make sure our emotional resiliency, or like emotional healing, we make it a top priority. Make sure we do that inner work. And then number 3, we want to set an intention or do a prayer to live in our highest destiny every single day, and just magnetize the opportunities, the synchronicities that will be in alignment to that highest destiny. And then number 4, we want to take daily actions and not only wait for inspirations, but we want to be in momentum, and so that we pretty much open room for the inspirations to come in. And then number 5, we have to have a business mentor and a spiritual mentor. And then number 6, we want to surround ourselves with positive, thoughtful people in a powerful community. Yay. Okay. Awesome. So that was really good. I hope you guys took notes If not, just go back and listen to this again. And so let's dive deeper into the inner work. Like that is the piece that, you know, I feel like a lot of people don't really know, or they don't really know how to turn like an abstract concept into actionable steps. So Kristian, would you mind sharing with us what you have got for us today?
Yeah, absolutely. Because this was like a missing piece for me that I didn't know. I mean, I had businesses for a long time before I got that, like, oh, if I'm not working on what rejection is about for me or abandonment is about for me and what that brings up, then I'm going to take it really personally when business happens, you know, when life happens. So the specific inner work that I recommend is to make sure that every week you're doing inner child work. And so this was something I was really resistant to, but one of my spiritual mentors said, like, you got to do it. You're a grown ass woman. You've been running businesses for 10 years. You got to do this. So it has been so rich for me because when you work with your inner child, first, let's talk about what happens when you don't work with your inner child. So if you don't work with your inner child, you have these split off parts of yourself, these wounded parts of yourself that are running certain areas of your life. They might be running your finances. They might be running, you know, your customer relations. They might be running all these different things. And so when you work with your inner child, at least weekly, you begin to reintegrate these split off healed parts of yourself back into your psyche. And then you, the grounded, loving, grown adult self, can run your business and run your life instead of that wounded child running your life. And I think we all can think of examples of people we've seen who are like, oh, that's a child in an adult's body, and they're really triggered right now and they're having a tantrum or whatever it might be. And so that's an example of what happens when we don't do our emotional work and when we don't make our inner child work a priority. You know, most of our parents, even with the best of intentions, fucked up a lot. You know, there are just things that happen for you as a child that no one can explain to you in that moment. And so you're making stories up about what it means about who you are. I won't even go to the past life stuff that's affecting all that, right? So there's just like, there's a lot for us as kids that we have to reparent ourselves. And so there's many books you can find on this topic. I have a guide called Activate Your Highly Sensitive Superpowers that literally gives you a step-by-step inner child process that is so transformative. So there are lots of areas you can get this from. You know, some people want to have a therapist walk them through that. If you feel like you need that, you could get it that way, but just make it a priority and it will be so life-changing.
Oh, you know, I totally know what you're talking about. Actually, like just last week, exactly what you mentioned about that split off parts of who we are. Like, okay, so most recently I had one of my devastating heartbreak, and I was just like embracing that pain in a meditation. And I was just like sitting with it, like crying my eyes out. And then I felt like physically, I felt like a part of me energetically came home to me. It was latched onto this person who decided to leave, and I felt like my happiness and my joy was dependent on this person. But because I really sat with my pain and held space for the healing, I felt like that piece actually returned back home, and I feel like I'm whole, and it's a powerful feeling. I can't explain it, but is that what you're talking about at the inner work, in inner child work?
100%.
Okay, we're back. We just had some power outage at Kristian's place, but that's all good. Super excited to be back with Kristian. So we were talking about inner child work. So yeah,
I think we were vibrating so high, Miko. We just like blew out my power grid. Like
that is it. That is it.
Yes. So we were talking about this specific inner work and the inner child work being like the next place you want to go and do that deep work with your inner child at least weekly. And then the next piece is to make decisions from that deep, deep part of who you really are. So to get out of the head and go to that like deep gut placement of your true self. And let that guide you. So when opportunities come up for business and things are going on, that before you just make a decision, you know, off the cuff, that you really take the time to go sit in meditation or whatever it might be and sit in and really connect in to who you really are.
And I believe that that's more, as we cultivate that practice of being really in tune with the deep part of who we are, I feel like that would eventually become something that kind of comes up naturally, right? You don't really have to meditate anymore. Do you still catch yourself needing to go into that place where you can connect? Do you
Yeah,
understand?
yeah, I do feel like you still need to like tune in to that deeper part of you, because if you're growing in your business, you're going to have like new experiences that come up and opportunities and things that happen that you wouldn't normally like necessarily face. So it does become more natural, like you said, as you're doing that inner work. And you want to always check in and see, like, where am I sourcing this decision from? Where is this really coming from? And then that you'll start to retrain yourself, to make decisions from that deep knowing, because a lot of our decision making comes from our programs. So 95% of our reality is being run by our subconscious programs. And this is the stuff that we absorbed from the last trimester that we were in our mother's womb to age 7. So it's extraordinary. So 95% of our experience is being run by those programs. And so when we make the time to stop, connect into the heart, connect into the gut, what is my deep knowing, and you let that guide you, then you're making very different decisions than you would if the program is ambition at any cost, or, work super hard, until you burn out. So when you take the time to slow down and reconnect to your true self, you'll make very different decisions for your business than if you don't. And I find that, having been in business for like 17 years now, I still find that is something that I want to slow down and connect in. So I'm not riding the wave of someone else's momentum or what is expected of me.
Oh, I love how you kept emphasizing slowing down, because I see the magic in slowing down, especially in the past week or so. I feel like when we get so caught up in the doing and the grinding, we can just kind of automatically fall back into that loop of the programming and not being conscious throughout the day. So like when I just take a couple of deep breaths, slow down, that's when I feel like I'm more connected to my spirit. Is that something that you do too, to slow down?
100%, always. So I don't do summits. I don't do anything until I've taken the time to really connect in. Does this serve my highest destiny? Is this part of me fulfilling my mission? Is this going to support me in doing the work I'm here to do?
Okay, so I wish I could talk to Kristian all day, and I'm sure our listeners would love to have me keep asking her questions, but I want to respect your time and also our listeners' time. But I do have one clarification that I want to dive a little bit deeper on, because I'm so fascinated by this, because I'm doing the same work. So with the inner child work, at least once a week, at least weekly, what exactly do we do? How do we work on our inner child work?
So there are specific processes that you can do. And so there's books about reparenting that you can find online, and that will give you a practice and a process. I also mentioned the guide that I have has a very specific inner child practice that it takes you through. It's called Activate Your Highly Sensitive Superpowers, and it gives you that process. So there is a specific process, and some of them are similar, some of them are different, but really what matters is that the process resonates for you, and it allows you to connect in with your inner child. So you'll actually go into closed eyes, meditative state, and work with your little girl or boy to find out what he or she needs that they didn't get. It's literally a process of reparenting yourself. And I started doing this work about 5 years ago, and it completely changed my relationships, not only with my clients, but I was able to attract in the healthiest partnership of my life. I mean, it changed so much for me. So this inner child work will, and all of the work we've talked about today, Miko, will translate into all the areas of your life. I work with women in their businesses, but we also support them in meeting the love of their life and, creating the families that they want to create. So it all, works together.
Oh yeah, totally. Because it's about who you're being, and that involves your business, your relationship, and all of that. But I love how you said we are reparenting ourselves. That is a powerful concept. Okay, anyways, this has been such an amazing interview with you. We even caused the power to go out because the vibes are so high. I totally think that's what happened. And Kristian, I just want to say I am so honored that you are our last speaker on the panel to end this amazing 26 Days to Greatness challenge. You're one of the last bonus speakers, and I cannot thank you enough for such a powerful one, because everything that you share with us today, our listeners can really take it with them, continue forward after these 26 days plus 10 bonus speakers. Now they have an entire process following what you just shared to continue to make their evolution to tap into the greatness, a forever journey, a fun one. And I know that you have so much more insights and wisdoms to share with the audience. So if they would love to dive a little bit deeper with you, how can they stay connected with you?
I believe we have a free meditation for them that you have a link for. So I have my Spirit-Led Business Expansion meditation. So definitely download that. You can go to my website at kristianstrang.com and also follow me on Instagram at Rising Up for Love. And I look forward to connecting with all of you that are called to. And Miko, this has been so much fun. Like, we literally blew the power out of my grid. It's so awesome. And I can't wait to see the miracles and magic we all get to create next.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I just want to send, so much love for our listeners on here for really saying yes and committing to your greatness for the past 26 plus days with us. And the real work really continues on from this point forward. So stay dedicated to yourself. Stay connected with Kristian. She has so many amazing wisdom and insights to continue to share. And let us know what your biggest takeaways were from this entire series, from this interview, and your transformation. We would love to hear from you. And also just join us inside the Facebook community. Meet your fellow 26 Days to Greatness challenge participants. And a big thank you. Yeah, Kristian will be in there too. So stay connected with her. Kristian, any last words to wrap this up for us?
No, just so much love to all of you that were a part of this and blowing out the power grid together. And really, I'm so excited to see the greatness in you that expresses, and the greatness in all of us that gets to be expressed during this really incredible time in consciousness. So much love to you, Miko. Mwah.
Thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you again soon. Bye.